Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rechai Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 2 Chronicles, the 29th chapter. And in this chapter, we deal with the reign of Hezekiah, the son of Ahaz, as we saw the deeds that Ahaz did in causing Judah to go off and worship idols heavily as opposed to worshiping the Lord. So this is 2 Chronicles chapter 29, verse 1. Hezekiah began to reign when he was 25 years old, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Abijah, the daughter of Zechariah. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord Yahweh, according to all that David his father had done. He, in the first year of his reign, in the first month, opened the doors of the house of the Lord Yahweh and repaired them. And remember that Ahaz had closed those doors. And so you can imagine for the rest of his reign, the neglect of the temple and the effect that it had. Remember, it's a building, right? And he brought in the priests and the Levites and gathered them together into the east street. And he said unto them, Hear me, ye Levites, sanctify now yourselves, and sanctify the house of the Lord Yahweh, God of your fathers, and carry forth the filthiness out of the holy place. So they basically had to re-cleanse the temple with all the the filthiness that was introduced by Ahaz in there. They had to take out anything that was abominable, probably make new vessels and so on, and and sanctify it. For our fathers have trespassed and done that which was evil in the eyes of the Lord Yahweh our God, and have forsaken him, and have turned away their faces from the habitation of the Lord, and turned their backs. Also they have shut up the doors of the porch, and put out the lamps, and have not burned incense, nor offered burnt offerings in the holy place unto the God of Israel. And this was something we were commanded to do, right? In the morning, there would be an offering. In the evening, there would be an offering. And these were known as the morning oblation and the evening oblation, along with the incense that were burned daily. And so this was, you can see why the Lord was angry with Ahaz and Israel for this. Wherefore the wrath of the Lord Yahweh was upon Judah and Jerusalem, and he hath delivered them to trouble, to astonishment, and to hissing, as ye see with your eyes. So they were being brought to a low state, enemies getting the upper hand of them, and so on. For lo, our fathers have fallen by the sword, and our sons and our daughters and our wives are in captivity for this. Now it is in mine heart to make a covenant with the Lord God of Israel, that his fierce wrath may turn away from us. My sons, be not now negligent, for the Lord Yahweh hath chosen you to stand before him, to serve him, and that ye should minister unto him, and burn incense. And remember, Hezekiah is speaking here to the Levites, exhorting them to to gird up their loins, so to speak, right, and be encouraged to minister unto the Lord. Then the Levites arose, Mahath the son of Amasai, and Joel the son of Azariah, of the sons of the Kohathites, and of the sons of Merari, Kish the son of Abdi, and Azariah the son of Jehalelel, and of the Gershonites, Joah the son of Zimmah, and Eden the son of Joah, and of the sons of Elizaphan, Shimri, and Jael, and of the sons of Asaph, Zechariah, and Mattaniah, and of the sons of Heman, Jehiel, and Shimei, and of the sons of Jeduthun, Shemaiah, and Uzziel. And they gathered their brethren and sanctified themselves, and came, according to the commandment of the king, by the words of the Lord Yahweh, to cleanse the house of the Lord. So you notice they didn't just go right up in there and start touching things. They sanctified themselves first, and then they went to start the renovation, right, or the cleansing of the temple. And the priests went into the inner part of the house of the Lord to cleanse it, and brought out all the uncleanness that they found in the temple of the Lord, in the court of the house of the Lord. And the Levites took it to carry it out abroad into the brook Kidron. Now they began on the first day of the month to sanctify, and on the 8th day of the month they came to the porch of the Lord. So they sanctified the house of the Lord Yahweh in 8 days, and in the 16th day of the first month they made an end. So it took them a while, right, to fully cleanse the temple and to replace all the things that had been destroyed by Ahaz. Then they went in to Hezekiah the king and said, "We have cleansed all the house of the Lord Yahweh, and the altar of burnt offering with all the vessels thereof, and the shewbread table with all the vessels thereof. Moreover, all the vessels which King Ahaz in his reign did cast away in his transgression, we have prepared and sanctified. And behold, they are before the altar of the Lord." Then Hezekiah the king rose early, and gathered the rulers of the city, and went up to the house of the Lord. So now it was a good day. And they brought 7 bullocks, and 7 rams, and 7 lambs, and 7 he-goats for a sin offering for the kingdom, and for the sanctuary, and for Judah. And he commanded the priests, the sons of Aaron, to offer them on the altar of the Lord. So the altar was renewed, it was cleansed, it was ready to go. So they killed the bullocks, and the priests received the blood, and sprinkled it on the altar. Likewise, when they had killed the rams, they sprinkled the blood upon the altar. They killed also the lambs, and they sprinkled the blood upon the altar. And they brought forth the he-goats for the sin offering before the king and the congregation, and they laid their hands upon them. Now, when you go back into the law, I believe it's in the book of Leviticus, but when you go back into the law, there is the actual ritual, or the ritual for the sin offering and the various kinds of offerings. I think it might also be in Exodus as well. But it shows you, what were the steps that would be taken, what animal would be needed, how to do it. So the things that are being referenced here, when you go back to the law, you can find the account of them. If you just look up the burnt offering or sin offering, you'll see the Lord commanding us on how to actually go about executing that. Verse 24, and the priests killed them, and they made reconciliation with their blood upon the altar to make an atonement for all Israel. For the king commanded that the burnt offering and the sin offering should be made for all Israel. So that's all the nation, right? Not just specifically to Judah. And he set the Levites in the house of the Lord Yahweh with cymbals, with psalteries, and with harps, according to the commandment of David, and of Gad the king's seer, and Nathan the prophet. For so was the commandment of the Lord Yahweh by his prophets. And the Levites stood with instruments, or with the instruments of David, and the priests with their trumpets. And Hezekiah commanded to offer the burnt offering upon the altar. And when the burnt offering began, the song of the Lord Yahweh began also with the trumpets, and with the instruments ordained by David, king of Israel. So you can imagine here at this point, you got the Levites, they got the music instruments, and Jake, and so they're doing the offering, and they're singing them psalms, they're playing them instruments, they're going in. And all the congregation worshipped, and the singers sang, and the trumpeters sounded, and all this continued until the burnt offering was finished. And when they had made an end of offering, the king and all that were present with him bowed themselves and worshipped. Moreover, Hezekiah the king and the princes commanded the Levites to sing praise unto the Lord Yahweh with the words of David and of Asaph the seer. So i.e. the Psalms, right, that they wrote, Hezekiah commanded the Levites to sing those. And they sang praises with gladness, and they bowed their heads and worshipped. Then Hezekiah answered and said, Now ye have consecrated yourselves unto the Lord. Come near, and bring sacrifices, and thank offerings unto the Lord, or into the house of the Lord. And the congregation brought in sacrifices and thank offerings, and as many as were of a free heart, burnt offerings. So i.e., if it was voluntarily in your heart to do it, then you would bring it. And the number of the burnt offerings which the congregation brought was 70 bullocks, which is 70, right? 70 bullocks, 100 rams, and 200 lambs. All these were for a burnt offering for the Lord. That was going to be a lot of work too, right? We're talking about hundreds. You got to slay them. You got to slay the animal. You got to wash it, clean it, dress it. Oh man. And the consecrated things were 600 oxen and 3,000 sheep. But the priests were too few, so that they could not flay all the burnt offerings. Wherefore their brethren the Levites did help them, till the work was ended, and until the other priests had sanctified themselves. For the Levites were more upright in heart to sanctify themselves than the priests. And when you look at this in the NLT, or even another translation, you see it says here, but there were too few priests to prepare all the burnt offerings. So their relatives, the Levites, helped them until the work was finished and more priests had been purified. For the Levites had been more conscientious about purifying themselves than the priests had been. Now let's actually look up this word here. It says, wishing to do that which is right, right? Diligent, especially to do one's work or duty well and thoroughly, relating to a person's conscience. So I think this makes more sense. So you can imagine the Levites were more, right? They were more zealous and eager to do this. Hence, they were quick to be sanctified versus, some of the actual appointed priests, which is why they were able to jump in and help right away, while the remaining of the priests were getting sanctified. Verse 35, and also the burnt offerings were in abundance, with the fat of the peace offerings and the drink offerings for every burnt offering. So the service of the house of the Lord Yahweh was set in order. And Hezekiah rejoiced, and all the people, that God had prepared the people, for the thing was done suddenly. Meaning, like, this was of the Spirit, right? This wasn't a long planned thing. This is something that was done. In terms of the turnaround time for actually completing this and setting things back in order, it was a very quick, very short turnaround, quick turnaround, so to speak, here. So that's why it was a beautiful thing. And that brings us to the end of the book of 2 Chronicles, the 29th chapter. And so see here, beautifully done, the leading of the reform, or the re-cleansing of the temple, and the bringing back of Israel or Judah to the worship and the serving of Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai, by King Hezekiah here. So with that, Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai, Ba'asham Recha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.